Chapter 335, The Seven Sons of Ao Family. Translator, Reviri Kurisu Ling Han's score had now climbed to 7th. High at present, yet once all was settled, it might well tumble to 40th or 50th. The top 10 were packed tight, separated by merely a few hundred points, sometimes even a scant dozen. Plainly, these were shrewd folk. 10,000 tokens meant a sure entry into the top 100. So what did it matter if one's seat was a little higher or a little lower? The second trial was the crux, the true gauge of strength. On that stage, they need only unleash all they had. Ling Han stepped onto a great boulder and sat in lotus posture. His right fist quivered faintly as he contemplated the war elephant fist. One punch after another coursed in circulation, and upon his knuckles surfaced a hazy sheen of vein-like lines woven from martial intent. Idle hands? Better to refine the art. How could he squander a breath? A mere runt at the first layer of the spiritual ocean tier dares put on airs here. A sharp voice cut in beside Ling Han's ear. Ling Han turned to see a lanky man with arms folded, staring him down. The fourth layer of the spiritual ocean tier was indeed a striking cultivation for one of his years. After all, spiritual pedestal tier warriors under 30 were still unheard of in the northern region. And who do you think you are? Ling Han said darkly. He was masked in disguise anyway, and so long as he did not reveal his trump card, he had no intention of swallowing even a shred of insolence, his manner wholly arrogant and domineering. The youth gave a cold snort and said, "This young master is Yan Jun." Oh! Ling Han's gaze cleared at once. Yan Jun had originally held 7th and had been pressed down by Ling Han into 8th. Yet the first round's ranking was no prize worth bickering over, and this fellow had come running so early, he ought not care about rank at all. In the next examination, "I'll beat the out of you," Yan Jun said icily. He truly hadn't cared about this round's placement earlier, but Ling Han was simply too young, stirring envy like thorns in his chest. Worse, Ling Han was only at the first layer of the spiritual ocean tier, and to be shoved down by such a one made the bitterness inside him burn all the more. "Dumbass!" Ling Han sneered, and no longer spared him the slightest attention. Yan Jun's eyes spat flames of fury, yet he forced it down. He only huffed. Once the second examination began, he would certainly make Ling Han understand the vastness of heaven and earth. The root of this feud was, without question, baffling. Ling Han shook his head and continued his fist practice. He could already shape 3 bursts of fist chi. If he could break through and form a 4th, his battle prowess would undergo a small yet fundamental change. Night was drawing in. Just over 4 hours remained before midnight. More and more people returned. Yang Chang, Si Chi Meng, Zhao Huan, Qi Yongye, those Ling Han was familiar with or had heard named, appeared one after another. He swept his eyes over them and saw Zhao Huan and the others wearing delighted expressions. Seemed they had a fair chance of squeezing into the top 10,000. As expected, Ling Han's rank slid downward the whole way, and first place had already surged to a lofty 20,000. It was none other than Yang Chong. Yet, in the blink of an eye, he was shoved aside, and first place became Ao Feng Hang. He ought to be one of the 7 sons of the Ao family, though which one was unknown. Ling Han laughed. Ao Feng had too many illegitimate sons. He himself likely didn't remember them, much less outsiders. Huh? His gaze tightened. In the crowd, he spotted a fatty, likely 22 or 23. The face was unfamiliar, yet that round physique made Ling Han certain this was Ma Duobao. His build was the dead giveaway. No matter how heaven-defying the disguise pill, it still could not conceal a figure like a crane standing among chickens. Catch him! Sure enough, if Ling Han could find Ma Duobao, then so could Winter Moon Sect's cultivators. At once, several spiritual pedestal tier warriors sprang from shadowed corners, reaching to seize Ma Duobao. "Tanned brother, hope to see you again." Ma Duobao instantly broke into a run, and just before vanishing, he blinked in Ling Han's direction. The distance was great, yet Ling Han was certain Ma Duobao had discovered him. Strange. Ling Han was shaken, for he did not have any distinctive stature, and with the disguise layered on, how had Ma Duobao recognized him? Could it be that those who lived by thievery possessed some secret art for discerning people? Though Ma Duobao was fat, his movement technique was astonishingly swift. He swam through the crowd like a fish, and even the spiritual pedestal tier pursuers didn't know how to begin pinning him down. They chased farther and farther, and in but a short moment, Ma Duobao had already fled into the dense forest. Ling Han wasn't worried about that fellow. His body was brimming with treasures, and even Ling Han couldn't see through his strength. Ma Duobao had ample ability to keep himself alive. After Hu Nu and Yan Tianzhao, there was yet another beast. Rong Huanshuan had already become an old monster that shouldn't be counted. The rankings kept renewing. More and more among the top 10 bore the surname Ao, and without even saying it, they were certainly the 7 sons of the Ao family. This explained those 7's strength. So out of the ordinary, so many reached the top 10, and not one of them was 30. From this, Ao Feng's talent should also be exceptional. Else he could not possibly have fathered so many prodigies. It was no wonder the Yue family had wanted to arrange a marriage with the Ao family back then. When midnight arrived, the first round's examination ended. Even if some had not returned, their points would not be counted. Ling Han's ranking fell into the 40s, taking 42nd, while first place was Ao Xing Lai, who achieved a shocking score of 3,000. Top 100, those who received the black metal token. Follow me, a disciple called. Top 10,000, still tallying. Everyone be patient, another disciple said. Ling Han rose and left Falling Goose Valley, following the crowd toward a mountaintop called Rising Sword Peak. The Yulong Mountains were vast. Even with over 20,000 people in Winter Moon Sect, only 7 mountaintops were occupied. By area, that was but 1,000th. Yet these 7 peaks were rich with spiritual qi, holy ground for cultivation. By comparison, Rising Sword Peak's spiritual qi quality ranked last. This was where the lowest level disciples lived. Ling Han and the others had not officially joined Winter Moon Sect, so they could only stay here temporarily. Among the top 100, Winter Moon Sect's disciples took 30 places, so naturally 2 factions formed. That first night, a fight nearly erupted, but fortunately, with a spiritual pedestal tier warrior keeping watch, nothing major was stirred in the end. Ling Han surveyed the crowd. The 7 sons of the Ao family had all reached the 9th layer of the spiritual ocean tier. Truly extraordinary. Besides those 7, there were a few who displayed remarkable talent, not the least inferior to the 7 sons of the Ao family. However, who was stronger would have to be decided in tomorrow's examination. Perhaps Winter Moon Sect's disciples were all unconvinced by one another, each wanting to stand as the top 3 among their own. That night was exceedingly unrestful, silent strife seething. Yet on the second day, the sun still rose as usual. At midnight, Ling Han entered the Black Tower and refined the yellow dragon fruit into Return Spirit Fruit 1. He might as well not waste time. Before long, a spiritual pedestal tier expert appeared, urging everyone awake. Without allowing them breakfast, he led them to a great floor on the mountainside. White ore paved the tiles here. Hardness was among its defining traits. Even a spiritual pedestal, tier warrior's full power strike would not easily crack them. It was most suited for forming a battleground. The true ranking battle was about to begin. Chapter 336, Re-examination. Translator, Revitor, Kurisu. Time is short, and from this day forth you are all disciples of this sect. There will be countless chances to cross hands later, so today's re-examination shall be swift, the spiritual pedestal tier cultivator declared. He raised a hand and indicated the plaza as he continued. Those ranked 91st to 100th yesterday, step forward and line up upon the field. At once, 10 people strode out and stood spaced apart on the field. Those ranked 81st to 90th, step forward, he said again. After waiting for another 10 to come forward, he continued, You may each choose one to challenge. The victor remains. The defeated is eliminated. The battles begin now, but whether a bout has ended or not, the second round will begin 1 hour later. If the 2 of you are still fighting upon the field when the hour is up, then both will be eliminated. Begin. With those words, at least 5 people had already started to clash. Rest was counted within the time of battle. There was only 1 hour in total, so the more swiftly one dealt with one's opponent, the more time one would have to recover. Moreover, the order in which people took the field was itself a reward for those who scored well yesterday. The top 10 could meet the final round at their peak condition. Of course, A true expert would not care for such things at all, possessing the confidence to crush their opponents with ease. Very quickly, the battles grew scorching hot. If they lost this round, they would be eliminated, so everyone fought with all their might. Naturally, if they did not need to reveal their trump cards, they would not. After all, if they wished to advance into the top 10, there were still many hard fights ahead. 10 minutes later, the first bout ended, while another pair tangled for a full hour without a victor. Well, the two were both eliminated. Those ranked 71st to 80th took the field, and the second round began. One lucky fellow won without even fighting, and could welcome the third round in peak form, round after round, each lasting an hour. The pace was exceedingly fast, and after 4 hours, it was Ling Han's turn. Huh? Ling Han showed a startled expression, because his opponent was Zhao Hongcheng. Before the exam, he was the one who had mocked Qi Yongye and the others as narrow-minded, and who had also completely looked down upon Ling Han. What a coincidence, for Ling Han to actually run into him. Do you forfeit, or should I beat you until you admit defeat? Zhao Hongcheng said with lofty arrogance. Ling Han smiled and said, "We are both in the first layer of the spiritual ocean tier. Where do you get such confidence from?" "Ha-ha, from this!" Zhao Hongcheng flourished his sword. It was a strangely shaped blade, its tip split like a snake's tongue, its fuller extremely thin. Upon it could be seen 7 vein-like lines. Silver Serpent Sword, a 4th-tier spirit tool. When fully activated, it can rival the battle prowess of one in the 5th layer of the spiritual ocean tier. He circulated his spiritual chi and began to stir the martial intent within the spirit tool. In an instant, the vein-like lines gleamed, and the spirit tool exuded a powerful aura. In a sense, a spirit tool was equivalent to a cultivator of the same tier, and Zhao Hongcheng himself was a spiritual ocean tier warrior, enough to fully awaken the Silver Serpent Sword's might. Thus, it was now as if 2 spiritual ocean tier opponents were attacking Ling Han together. Moreover, the Silver Serpent Sword's power was comparable to an opponent in the 5th layer of the spiritual ocean tier. No wonder Zhao Hongcheng brimmed with confidence. One in the 1st layer of the spiritual ocean tier, and one in the 5th layer of the spiritual ocean tier. That meant there would still be a chance of victory, even if encountering an opponent in the 5th layer of the spiritual ocean tier. Zhao Hongcheng had not used the Silver Serpent Sword in the previous exam in order to catch everyone by surprise at this re-examination. However, there was no rule in the tournament forbidding spirit tools, so even if he won by relying on the Silver Serpent Sword, at most others would merely sneer at him for not winning with his own skill. Ling Han smiled faintly and said, "Should I put on a look of fear to better match your act?" "No need to pretend. You're certainly scared already." Zhao Hongcheng burst forth with his sword. Being in the 1st layer of the spiritual ocean tier while fully activating a 5th layer, Spiritual Ocean Tier Spirit Tool placed a tremendous burden upon him, so he hoped to deal with Ling Han as quickly as possible to gain time to recover. Ling Han formed a fist and moved. Hong. Martial intent surged, and vein-like lines spread as a silver-colored dragon elephant stamped through the air, charging straight at Zhao Hongcheng. Pang! With a fierce collision, Zhao Hongcheng staggered back again and again, his face turning deathly pale. The force of that strike was far too heavy, shaking his internal organs until it was almost unbearable, nearly making him spit blood. Huh. What? Yikes! Seeing this, those who had been absent-minded all revealed shocked expressions. That a single punch pushed Zhao Hongcheng back was not a big deal, since he was at the 1st layer of the spiritual ocean tier after all, but he was holding a fully activated spirit tool. Now that was strange. His battle prowess should be 6 stars. Many people judged. This was astonishing. A 1st layer spiritual ocean tier youth with 6-star battle prowess. It was very difficult to believe. He must be wearing some kind of spirit tool that's already activated. Otherwise, battle prowess surpassing 5 stars? Even among us, not many can do that, right? Someone immediately came up with a reasonable explanation. Vambraces or leggings could be worn beneath one's clothes, so even when activated, they would be hard to notice. There are still a few with battle prowess surpassing 5 stars, but only Ao Da has 6 stars. Someone's gaze shifted toward a 22 to 23-year-old youngster. This person was Ao Da, whose true name was Ao Xinglai. The 7 sons of the Ao family were not ranked by age, but by ability. Ao Xinglai was Ao Feng's most outstanding son, with cultivation in the 9th layer of the spiritual ocean tier. It was said he already had 1 foot within the spiritual pedestal tier, and such talent could be called prodigious even in the middle state. Of course, not top-notch. At least in the North region, there were already spiritual pedestal tier prodigies within this age group. Ao Xinglai's lips curled faintly. He certainly did not believe Ling Han possessed battle prowess surpassing 5 stars. And even if it were so, it could not rival his. When fully unleashed, his battle prowess could actually exceed 7 stars. His confidence came not only from being the head of the 7 sons of the Ao family and the Winter Moon Sect's #1 genius, but also from being the North region's #1 prodigy. One day, he would enter the middle state and sweep through the prodigies there, forging a legendary reputation that would be recorded in the annals of history. I don't believe. Zhao Hongcheng straightened his sword and charged again. I'm in the 1st layer of the spiritual ocean tier, and you are too. We both have spirit tools as well. Could I be weaker than you? He slashed, and 4 streaks of sword chi shot forth. 4 streaks of sword chi. Not bad, not bad. He has talent on the sword path. Ling Han punched out. 4 streaks of fist chi also surged forth, condensing into 4 golden fists that flew toward Zhao Hongcheng. Peng, 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 peng. Sword chi and fist chi collided, annihilating one another. Ah! Zhao Hongcheng roared, brandishing his sword without pause. They were both in the 1st layer of the spiritual ocean tier, so even with a spirit tool in hand, their energy consumption was tremendous. He only needed to hold on a little longer than Ling Han to win. Ling Han's Dantian space was 100 times larger than that of a normal spiritual ocean tier warrior, and his spiritual ocean was also 10 times larger. Moreover, he had 2 that formed yin and yang, almost returning to the origins of the universe. Thus, he did not rush, and merely used his opponent to hone the war elephant fist.